I'm 26 years old and I'm in $95,487.73 worth of debt.
I'm 35 years old and in $169,292.74 of debt.
I'm 23 years old and I'm in $246,000 worth of debt.
Now this gonna get y'all talking. They said that while black people hold the highest amounts in student loan debt, white people hold the highest amounts in credit card debt.
Credit card debt is something a lot of people are dealing with, but for some, it's way beyond a little bit too much. In this video, we'll be looking at real people with massive credit card debt and how they got there. We are not here to judge anyone, just talk about money, mistakes, and how to dig out.
I'm 35 years old and in $169,292.74 of debt, and I still live at home with my parents. And you might as well bump that up to $266,722.97 in debt if you add in how much I will pay in interest. I started aggressively looking at my debt in January and truly didn't know the full financial picture until I got it all down on paper. Debts include 2 private student loans, 10 federal student loans, 1 auto loan, 1 private loan, and 13 credit cards. I've already taken some drastic measures to reduce spending and start side hustling. I started posting my debt payoff journey here on TikTok in hopes of growing and getting into the creator fund. So if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching and following. I'm selling my debt tracking template, I'm door dashing, donating plasma, selling items around the house, and doing TikTok shop to try and make a dent. I made some really good progress so far thanks to an annual bonus I got from my 9-to-5 job, but I've got a long way to go. I've been able to negotiate most of my interest rates on my credit cards down with the help of a debt management plan, but the interest on my student loans is wild. My 2 private student loans have interest rates of 12.75% and 8.9%, while my federal loans range from 5.8 to 6.6%. The private student loans are from my undergraduate degree, which I earned over 15 years ago. I would probably puke if I knew how much I had already paid. And to this day, I think about all the frivolous things I bought and did when I was in my teens and 20s with this money, and wow, if I would have known I would be paying for tank tops and fun nights out at bars 1,000 times over the next 15 years, I might have made some different choices. Even though I've already paid off about $31,000 of debt so far this year, I'm still not looking at being debt-free until 2040. I honestly cannot imagine another 15 years of paying on this debt, especially with so many other life milestones I want to achieve, like buying a house and having kids. I also just got engaged, and it truly makes me sick thinking about how I am bringing more than $150,000 of debt into our marriage starting out. This is not a video to complain by any means because these were my own choices and I'm working to pay back what I owe, but I hope sharing this can resonate with others, and if you want to follow along on the journey and like and follow and share and all that fun stuff, that would be great.
Now this gonna get y'all talking. They said that while black people hold the highest amounts in student loan debt, white people hold the highest amounts in credit card debt. So I think we should remember that debt is not about being tied to poor or the rich. It's tied to decision making. Working in the banking industry, I worked with a Caucasian client previously who I had a great relationship with. This man owed $150,000 in credit card debt and was actively trying to pay it back, but had no capacity to pay it back, which is why we talk about the difference between character and capacity. Character is I have the willpower to want to pay it back. Capacity is I can or cannot pay it back based on my financial situation. So with that being said, I'm a little curious on, is there anyone who has never had any type of debt?
I'm 26 years old and I'm in $95,487.73 worth of debt, majority of that being student loans. And I fear some people in my comment section when I originally talked about my debt need to understand what reality is like for a lot of people today trying to get an education. So I'm just going to give you a breakdown of what the last 18 months on a minimum has cost me so that you can understand why I've racked up $95,000 trying to get an education. Prior to getting my nursing degree, I spent 2 years at a community college getting my associate's. Then I hopped over to a university and got my bachelor's degree. Now, the first 2 years didn't really cost me anything. I lived at home, I had the Pell Grant, but when I went to the university, it only covered so much. I had a lot of expenses. When I was at university, I was going to school fall, spring, and summer. I was also living off campus. So the majority of my loans came from housing and having to survive while I was away at college. And yes, I did also work when I was away at college. I have never not had a job. So now back to the breakdown of just the last 18 months while in nursing school. We'll say my rent on average was around $1,150 a month. At 18 months, that's $20,700. Now, my car payment and my insurance at 18 months is $9,000. This is literally not even including gas. My tuition was roughly around $5,000, not including any other expenses I had to pay out of pocket. And I also included food because I needed to survive, and I put an average of $250 a month, which came out to $4,500 for the last 18 months. And that is just the minimum because I know it's way more than that. So that brings the grand total to $39,200 for 18 months. That is the bare minimum, not including my pet insurance, not including gas, not including reoccurring expenses or doctor visits, not including my car breaking down. I also did work during this period of time. I had a work from home job. I used to be full-time, but in school I went part-time. However, because my school couldn't get it together and they were constantly changing the schedule, there were a lot of weeks where I couldn't work. So guess what I had to survive on? Student loans. So I hope this rough breakdown really helps you understand how I have $90,000 in student loans, basically. Because this is just the bare minimum. My monthly expenses are way worse than this. And somehow I've been able to survive, thankfully, because I do have some sort of money coming in because I also do work. It may not be full-time anymore, but I do bring in some sort of income. So actually, my debt could be way worse than it is, but I'm thankful that it isn't. And I hope that helps you understand a little bit better. Bye.
I'm 23 years old and I'm in $246,000 worth of debt. Let's talk about it. The vast majority of that debt comes from my home loan. I closed on my home right after my 21st birthday, so I haven't paid down very much of that yet. I also have student loans, a car loan, and then I have one credit card, and I have my timeshare. Before anyone says anything about it, I know the timeshare was a bad idea. I can't get out of it now until it's paid off. But I am working on getting all my debt paid off. So if you want to see that journey, come along with me. I work several side hustles. I have a full-time job, and then I also work at Instacart. I am a travel agent, and I work at a gas station. All of that to try to get my debt paid down. My goal for this year is to pay off my remaining credit card. That card has about $3,800 left on it. If I continue at my current pace, I'll have it paid down by the end of the summer. So feel free to join me here. I am not silly enough to think that I'm going to make money off of TikTok to pay off my debt, but I do want to document my journey just to see how far I've come as I get some of this stuff paid down. I made a decision last August that I was going to change my life for the better and stop going farther into debt and get debt paid off. I just paid off one of my credit cards and now I'm paying off the other one.
Not me entering my final stage of full-blown crash out. I'm literally crashing out. I was so excited for tonight. Oh my God, I'm so worked up. I was going to get dressed up. I mean, I still am. I'm definitely getting a martini now. Last week, I fucking hate student loans. Last month, I set up auto pay because I don't want to forget. I don't like being late. You can never get on the phone with these stupid student loan people. And I log on today because I have to get my fucking tax documents. Fuck my life. Life never ends. I'm like, oh my God, it says my payment's late. And I'm like, how does that even make sense? I set up auto pay last month with my card and my bank and all the stupid information. And then I call them today and they're like, it's going to be a 3-hour and 50-minute wait time. And then I'm trying to have dad help me. And I'm like, what did you guys have me set up auto pay for that if my payments are now late? And I'm like, I'm not crashing out over Mohila. You're ugly. I don't have time for this. I'm crying over a fucking stupid student loan.
Hi there. Let's talk about this number right here. This is how much debt I have. I'm about $180,000 in debt from both federal and private student loans, my car loan, credit cards. That is all of my debt. I am 24 years old. I have a bachelor degree, so not even a master's. I have one minor, no focus in my major, as well as an honors degree, which did require some extra credits. So that is where this number is coming from. This is on top of the little amount of scholarships that I was awarded, so money I didn't have to pay back. This is everything I owe. Everything I owe. I came out of college in June of 2024, and I did not look at the debt that I was accruing. I took out loans as I needed them each year for college, and I didn't really think about what the percentages meant because I was never taught financial literacy. I didn't think about what the realistic number was going to be that I would have to owe each month on these loans, and they are astronomical, I will say. Sallie Mae, which is my private loan creditor, wants $1,800 a month from me. That's just Sallie Mae. I am right now in a grace period for 12 months where I only have to pay $1,033 to Sallie Mae. I would not be able to afford the $1,800 a month if I wasn't able to get it down for 12 months. I don't know what I'm going to do in 11 months, but this is just me talking about it. On top of that, I owe about $287 to the federal government per month. That's not changing. And I owe $202 for my car payment, and that's not even including the $150 or $60 that I owe each month for the car insurance or my credit card payments. That doesn't include any of that. So, alone, Sallie Mae wants $1,800 from me. I graduated college, as I just mentioned, in June of 2024, so this last year, and I wanted to just have a nice summer because I have been doing school for the last 5 years, and I've been taking summer courses full-time every year, and as well as working full-time. So this is also like the debt I have, and I was working full-time during the summers, and I was working part-time during the school years, so that's all, I still had no money, and I had to take out loans. So, being 23 years old, almost 24 when I graduated, I decided that I was just going to get a part-time job so that way I could only work part-time during the summer and kind of enjoy the summer because I had been doing over full-time in schools and working and had a role in my sorority, and I decided that I was just going to work part-time. And if I had looked at my loans fresh out of college, which I highly recommend you do if you have loans, do not wait until they are due to start looking at them. I decided to do that and made barely any money, but I didn't have any loan payments at the time during the summer. And I wish that I had started making the payments as soon as possible on those loans while I had them. So I worked part-time. Around November, my best friend was like, hey, I have loans. You have loans. Have you looked at what your loan payments are going to be? And I was like, shh, can't be that bad, right? Wrong. I looked at my loan payments and I cried. Because I was not taught financial literacy. And I didn't understand how a credit company for student loans could charge me $1,800 if I wasn't making that much. I thought, okay, there must be something similar to the federal aid where you can do it based on income. No, they don't offer that. So I would also look into that before you take out student loans if they're going to offer income-based or anything. They don't offer that. The best I could do was bring it down to $1,000. And then I was struggling to find a full-time job. I applied for like 3 months to over probably 500 jobs before I finally found one. This is the catch, that doesn't even require my degree. I found a job that paid $20 an hour, 40 hours a week, and it was degree recommended, not required. So I felt very grateful for that opportunity. I just don't understand why companies and jobs want you to have stepping stones but don't consider your degree to be the stepping stones or the foundation for working for those companies, and they want to pay less money for more years of experience. It doesn't make sense. It's really hard to find a job right now, really, really hard. Anyway, flash forward, I'm doing this and I'm able to make my bare minimum payments, but that doesn't matter because in 12 months, I'm still going to owe $1,800 bare minimum on the Sallie Mae loans, and I cannot afford that. And I make $41,600 a year before taxes. Now, flash forward, I'm at this job for a couple months and I start to struggle really badly with my mental health. I'm talking can't get out of bed except to go to work, really struggling, losing passion for everything, falling into a mix of, I would say, seasonal depression because it's winter and I struggle with that a lot. And also depression because my life is not going the way that I want it to go. And that is a hard thing to grasp. And also, debt is really hard. It's a hard thing, and a lot of people struggle with it. So it's not just me coming on here. I'm very grateful and I am privileged, and there's a lot of things that are going well in my life, but that debt is still looming over my head, and that is a real thing. I decided that this job was not worth staying at any longer because of how much it was impacting my mental health. I was crashing out all the time and I really tried to stick it out, but I was just really starting to see no purpose in my life, even though it was helping me make those bare minimum payments. I have since put in my 2 weeks and I'm going back to 2 part-time jobs that I've calculated out will make the same amount of money I make at this full-time job that I supposedly got with my degree. So I'm still going to make $41,600 and be able to make my bare minimum payments. But I am really worried about what I'm going to do in 11 months when I have to owe $1,800 just on Sallie Mae. I am putting this out there as like kind of a way to warn people about looking into what your loans look like. Teach yourself financial literacy, but I'm also putting this out there to ask, what's the best case scenario? I don't really know what to do, and I've been trying to do research. I don't want to get sued by Sallie Mae. It's hard to find a job. I don't really want people coming out here being like, well, just go find a higher paying job. You were silly to drop down to part-time jobs. That is not the advice I'm looking for. I'm looking for a best way to knock out my loans and start paying them off faster with what I have. I'm making the bare minimum payments and a little bit more, and that's basically all of my income, and I'm looking for other ways to make extra money. So if I have to start door dashing as well, I'm going to go back to a job where I'll also be making tips. All of that's going to go towards it. What is the best way? Should I attack the ones that are high interest first? Should I go after the ones that are the smallest? Like, I'm genuinely curious, best way to knock out these loans, because I'm trying to be debt free. There was a time in my life where all I wanted was to make a ton of money. I don't care. Financial freedom to me looks like being debt free. I would love, and I'm not saying this is possible, but I don't think it's impossible either. I would love to be out of debt by the time I'm 30. That's 6 years from now. I have a lot of debt. I don't know how possible that is, but I would have to put all my money towards it. I've not made good financial choices. Like, I'm literally going on a trip in April. Like, I'm not saying that I'm perfect or that, but that's aside the case. That is aside the case. The point is, I can make the bare minimum right now, and I know that I could make more if I need to. Despite going on this trip in April, we don't need to talk about that. I'm still making choices, but I want to find out a way that I can get out of debt. I'm trying to find all these extra ways to make money. I'm going to keep probably eventually in the future apply to jobs, but it's just, this is the reality of it. It's just like, it's not like I'm magically going to make more money to pay off this debt. I am where I'm at. So I don't know. I'm looking for help, and I'm also trying to give some advice, but you should really educate yourself on financial literacy before you decide to take out loans. And if you have the opportunity to go to community college before going to a university, I would highly recommend doing that to save yourself as much money as possible. Because at the end of the day, as fun as the memories were, and I'm so grateful for my friends and the people I met, and they are obviously priceless. Knowing what I know now, I don't know if I would ever put myself in that position to let myself get into $180,000 worth of debt over school. So my credit's also shit, by the way, because of all the loans I've had to take out. So that is my story. And yeah, I just kind of came here to talk about it. I feel like it's important to talk about. And a lot of times I think we're kind of ashamed of it, but that's really it.
Debt sucks, but it does not define you. Everyone has made money mistake one time or the other in our lifetime, but what matters is what you do next. Thanks for watching. If you're in debt, just know you are not alone. Take one step at a time and make sure to take good care of yourself. Also, do not be afraid to ask for help when needed. Alright? You got this, sweetheart. You got this.